The Toronto Raptors are currently one of the frontrunners to land Zach LaVine if he is traded away from the Chicago Bulls, according to the betting odds. So we'll break that down, as well as an ESPN analyst saying the Raptors are prime destination to land LaVine. We have a massive Precious Achiuwa injury update to talk on, and Pascal Siakam won an award, and we have another potential trade target. So lots of news to cover in this video. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Dive, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news, and Merry Christmas to everyone that's been celebrating over this weekend. Hope everyone had a great Christmas, as didn't get a video out yesterday, so we're kind of celebrating it here today. Got the Christmas tree up behind me, got a little statue, so switching up the studio for a special time of year, but hope everyone had a great Christmas that celebrated. But we got some Toronto Raptors news we got to cover. So the first thing we're taking a look at is the Raptors being frontrunners to land Zach LaVine, and this one's pretty interesting, as Zach LaVine is a guy that's a big name, won multiple dunk contests, is a high flyer, can knock down threes, has put up some solid numbers in recent seasons for the Chicago Bulls, but there hasn't been a lot of winning in his career, whether it be with Minnesota or with Chicago. There's questions about his defense, about his health, and his contract, and there's sort of a split from what I've seen online about whether Raptors fans would want to even go after him or not. Well, it seems like the Raptors might be in a position to actually acquire him, because firstly, I'll give a little report that came from Kevin Pelton, who's on a podcast with Zach Lowe, two ESPN analysts, but essentially he said on the podcast that the Toronto Raptors also falls in the category of a team that needs some offensive juice. Maybe if they want to trade away Fred VanVleet because you thought he might leave and you didn't necessarily want to take a big step backwards, maybe it's a VanVleet Trent package, but that's the direct quote. But essentially he was tying the Toronto Raptors to potentially acquiring Zach LaVine. I should have screenshotted that whole thing in there, but it's not just little reports, it's not just updates from ESPN analysts. We also have the odds, which if you guys have been following this channel know we don't underestimate what the betting odds say. We underestimate when we neglected the Toronto Raptors being the top favorites to land Kawhi Leonard. We said it was nonsense. Maybe we'd acquire LaMarcus Aldridge, his co-star down there in San Antonio, but we ended up getting Kawhi Leonard. And if the odds are speaking, maybe we should we might be actually landing Zach LaVine, as it's come out that the Toronto Raptors are plus 300 to land Zach LaVine, just behind the New York Knicks if he is traded away from the Chicago Bulls. And just ahead of us, as said, is the Knicks. We're ahead of the Miami Heat, the Mavericks, the Blazers, the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Wizards. So we're pretty stable favorites there behind the Knicks. We're plus 50 ahead of the Heat, plus 400 ahead of the Mavericks. So that's quite interesting. Now, Kevin Pelton, he essentially came out and said that we could potentially give up Fred VanVleet as well as Gary Trent Jr. I know a lot of people are on the trade Fred VanVleet bandwagon. I'm not super high on selling low, but when you look at Zach LaVine, one of those guys that can score in bunches, would certainly help with our three-point shooting problem if we just inserted him into the team, right? He'd be a cool pickup, but would I be giving up a guy that's won an NBA championship with us in Fred VanVleet? Sure, he's having a down year. Sure, he's a free agent come this offseason, and a young prospect like Gary Trent Jr., who, again, is in a similar boat, is a guy that I think will likely be traded, right? Or it will be a part of a trade if we do end up making a move, right? Do we want to give that up for Zach LaVine? And here's my case as to why that's not really what the direction the Toronto Raptors should go in. If you look at Zach LaVine's stats for this season, they're not too hot. 22 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, only shooting 37% from the three-point line, 45% from the field, and 1 steal a night. But if you look at Zach LaVine, you compare him to what's going out. What are the Toronto Raptors' current 2 issues? 2 problems with the squad: three-point shooting and defense. Yes, Zach LaVine will help us create some shots. He'll help us knock down some three-pointers at a high clip. But in the potential hypothetical packages you're sending out, you're probably trading away 1, if not 2 of our best three-point shooters on the roster. So are you really getting that much better inserting Zach LaVine into the lineup? That's a big question mark there. And then, right, defensively, you are taking a massive, a ginormous step back if you trade away Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. I mean, the star boy Gary Trent, he's for everything you want to say about him this season, he is an elite on-ball defender. Even whether he's coming off the bench or he's starting, he's a guy that's shown he can guard on ball, he can get deflections, he can get steals, and he's just mobile, quick, and athletic. He's strong. Just overall, a much better defender than Zach LaVine. And then Fred VanVleet, yes, he's been getting burnt on as the point of attack at times this year, especially when you go up against quick guards like Tyrese Maxey or it wasn't Murray. There was someone else burning him, especially that people have been bringing up. But Fred VanVleet, when he's not being worked, playing 43 minutes a night, when he's not asked to do everything out there on the court, playing through injuries, he's shown he's an elite on-ball defender himself. He's strong, he's sturdy, he's Kyle Lowry, he's a high IQ, right? You are losing a lot trading away two of those guys on the defensive end, and especially Fred VanVleet, it's a culture loss. And there's rumors now that Zach LaVine could potentially want out to the LA Lakers. That's where he's trying to push himself out. So who knows how committed he'll be to Toronto if he's not committed down there in Chicago. And to make it even worse, to make this honestly even hypothetical, potentially kazoo worthy if it ends up going down, is the contract for Zach LaVine. Now, some people might say, oh, Ben, it's exciting to get a guy that's going to be locked in for a long time. You can't demand his way out and all that sort of stuff. Well, maybe you'd be hoping he's demanding his way out if you looked at his contract, because 23-24. So he's currently making this season $37 million. But in 23-24, $40 million. The year after that, $43 million. The year after that, $46 million. And then in 2026 to 2027, you're paying Zach LaVine close to $50 million just for one season. And sure, you might say the cap's going up. Sure, you might say, oh, Ben, that's not going to be as much. That's going to be a regular star contract in 2027. Well, you know what? $50 million for a guy that isn't a strong defender, that's already, his game is built off a lot of athleticism, even though his jump shooting is pretty solid, right? Like, am I trying to pay him $50 million in 2027? That's an ugly one for me. But let me know what you guys think. And as I said, the odds are pretty good on the Toronto Raptors potentially landing on him. And if you guys are interested in the sports betting side of things and want those extra insights and all that sort of stuff, definitely check out CoolBet. You can use the link down below to sign up for the app for free. Right, it's free to sign up at Sports Channel. They're the best sports book in Canada. Right, they're regulated all across the country, and you want odds to bet on Toronto Raptors games, who've been winning pretty hot. They're on a little win streak lately, and the odds are pretty good for them right now. Definitely sign up for CoolBet using the link down below. Definitely a cool sports. And if you sign up, you can hit up myself or Goody, and you get custom odds, custom bets, boosts on anything that you want. We'll hit up the guys at CoolBet. They'll give us custom bets. So hit us up on Discord if you want access to those. But the next thing we're taking a look at is a massive Precious Achiuwa injury update. Now, Precious is a guy that fans of the podcast know I've been drumming up the propaganda for a long time. I think he's going to be a key piece to the Toronto Raptors, sort of what we have building here for this squad. He's an athlete. He's shown an ability to improve game after game. His handles improved. His three-point shots improved. Defensively, he's elite. And sure, he had a colder start to the season. He's going to be a key piece to the lineup for this year, and we have some insight as to when he's going to return, because he's been out with injury for essentially the past 2 months. And Josh Lewinberg came out and said that Precious Achiuwa was available to practice today. It sounds like he was mostly a full participant, taking contact, etc. He's doubtful for tomorrow's game against the Clippers, but Nurse says he's getting closer to a return, which could come as early as this week. Now, we heard some insight that we should expect it to be after New Year's for Precious Achiuwa to potentially return, but him coming back potentially this week, him being listed as doubtful, as I've said on the podcast this year with the number of injuries we've had, right? It usually goes from doubtful to questionable to probable, and then you actually see him out there on the court. So while it's unlikely he ends up playing against the Clippers tomorrow, right? It's going to be cool to see Precious back on the lineup. And now with Gary Trent Jr. likely remaining as that sixth man for the Toronto Raptors team, Precious Achiuwa will likely be a starter for this Raptors squad, and I'm really interested to see how he sort of fulfills that position. But we'll see what direction Nick Nurse goes in. The next thing we're taking a look at is Pascal Siakam winning an award. Now, Pascal had a monster week for the Toronto Raptors this last recent week of action. He's getting his praise from the NBA, as it's come out that Pascal Siakam was named Player of the Week, averaging 39 points per game, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. 2-1 for that week, flipping the script for the Toronto Raptors, and that 50-point game he had down in New York will obviously skew those stats, but it's a weekly award. Shout out to Pascal Siakam for getting that accolade. But the next thing we're taking a look at is another potential Raptors trade target. Now, The Washington Wizards have not been good this season. I don't know what their expectations were coming in this year. They just traded for Kristaps Porzingis last year. They acquired Bradley Beal. They have some decent role players on their squad, and everything their front office has said is that they essentially want to win now. They want to build around Bradley Beal and make things work. But a lot of news, a lot of rumors has come out in recent, especially this past week, about Kyle Kuzma potentially wanting out. He's a free agent. There's talks about him wanting to go back to LA. There's talks about him just wanting to get out of Washington, and he recently praised, or I guess backed up, went at a Toronto Raptors supporter in praise of Scottie Barnes, speaking out for the Raptors' young second-year player. But news is also coming out, adding fuel to the fire that Kuzma might be traded, that there's a rising belief league-wide that Kyle Kuzma is gettable between now and the trade deadline. Based on the rumbles I've heard, I struggle to envision Kuzma wanting to stay in the nation's capital beyond this season. So that's according to Mark Stein. And Kuzma's a guy that's a pretty intriguing player. He's 6'9", so he fits the Toronto Raptors kind of mold, right? He plays some pretty solid defense, and he shoots threes. And if you look at his stats for the season, he's been really, really good. Better stats than Zach LaVine, in fact. Like 22 points per game, 8 rebounds, close to 4 assists. You know, the blocks and steals aren't big, but he's a good positional defender. 47% from the field, 34% from the three-point line. So while the three-point percentage could go up a little bit, right, Kuzma would be a cool fit. And if he's gettable, right, if he's a guy that we don't have to give too much up for, he'd be a guy I wouldn't mind seeing the Toronto Raptors go after. Now, what would it take? Who knows? Would you trade Gary Trent Jr. for Kyle Kuzma? That's more debatable, but let me know in the comment section what you guys think about potentially acquiring him. But the final thing we're taking a look at is a former Toronto Raptor calling out Kendrick Perkins. Now, Serge Ibaka is a fan favorite. Everyone loves Serge, even when he left for the Clippers. While my heart was broken, right? He's still a guy that holds. My heart is full with Serge Ibaka. How hungry are you? Lots of great memories and stuff. But he got there's an interesting comment from Kendrick Perkins, which didn't seem that professional coming from a guy on ESPN that was his former teammate and stuff. And essentially had this say. The text is pretty small right here, but basically, Kendrick Perkins came out and said, questioned about Serge Ibaka's age. He was talking about the young core that they played together in Oklahoma City with, and essentially saying, oh, Westbrook was 21, Kevin Durant was 22, and Serge Ibaka is probably like 30. And this is referencing to almost a conspiracy theory going around about Serge Ibaka, about him being a lot older than his listed age at, I believe it's 35 right now. I'll see that in the tweets. But Andy Hoops did a big deep dive into this back in 2017, 2016, and even we reacted to it on the channel about and this was a time when Serge Ibaka was looking like he was playing older than he was, but really it was just some injuries, and those were completely addressed and proven to be false and all that sort of stuff. And given Serge Ibaka's long career after that point, which he would have been I think he'd be like 45 right now, clearly those were not true. But Kendrick Perkins was bringing up those unsubstantiated claims on ESPN of all places, and his former teammate was not happy about the comments. Essentially saying that I count my blessings every day that I don't usually react to comments about me, but it's disappointing to see someone I shared a locker room with spreading information that to be relevant and get views on TV and social media. You can talk about my game if I don't play well. I will never have a problem with that. But to talk extra for no reason is not acceptable. It's disrespectful to me. I feel like it's disrespectful to many Africans who have to live with the unfounded accusation. He went on to say in more tweets that if I was 30 in Oklahoma City, I guess I'm 45 right now. The truth is I never lied about my age. I work extremely hard every day without cheating, and I've never been suspended. Yeah, suspended. Everyone in the league knows that you cheated and you didn't respect the game. So some people are speculating that Kendrick Perkins may have potentially cheated with PEDs, but that's all speculation given from that tweet. And Serge Ibaka definitely didn't come out and say that, but that's just what people are saying in the comments down below it. But although I'm disappointed, I am not surprised to see the actions from someone who got his job by breaking the locker room code and by spreading lies about two of his former teammates and brothers like Kevin Durant and Russ. When KD had a bad game, you criticized him behind his back. And when Russ had a bad game, you criticized him. You were not a locker room leader. You were, and then you continued doing it and the same in the media. I understand everyone needs to do their job and take care of their families, but you are proof that not everybody knows how to do it with class and dignity. I have more to say about this, but I am not that kind of person. But this time, you went too far. So Serge Ibaka coming out, avec class, calling out Kendrick Perkins, and this is something he's been doing in recent seasons and stuff. And yeah, so shout out to Serge Ibaka. Definitely calling out Kendrick Perkins for some lame comments on that front. But folks, you guys are the best for making it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you enjoyed the videos and you want to stay up to date, everything surrounding the Toronto Raptors, definitely sign up for Cool Bet if you want to support the channel and bet on the Toronto Raptors. They're the best place to do it. But you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers. Merry Christmas to everyone as well.